Hey, what's doing, Niner Nuts? It's the Niner Nut. Hope everybody's doing well. If you're on the East Coast right now, like I am, you're dealing with this disgusting, horrible weather. But I guess can't complain because it's not really cold out. Um, been away for a bit. I was in Disney for the holiday, and I wish I was still there. I was able to watch the 49ers versus the Bills, if you want to call that a game. I really rather not focus this podcast on that game because I really don't have anything to say about that game at all. If you didn't watch it, God bless you. If you went back and watched some of the highlights, it's exactly what it is. What you saw. Actually, you didn't even really have to watch the game. You could have just looked at the stats from the game, and they were self-explanatory. That's all I'm going to say. Let's talk about Sunday's victory over the Bears, 38-13 in Levi's Stadium. I will sum up Sunday's win by saying what you saw is what the 49ers are on their best day, when they're consistent, when they're not hurting themselves, when they're not depleted with injury, when they're in rhythm, when they're in focus. That's how good they are. Now, it's not a fair assessment because let's face it, we played the Bears. The Bears are I don't want to say terrible team. I just don't think that they're anywhere near the talent on their roster. They're not playing anywhere near the talent they have. Hopefully, they'll get themselves a good head coach in the offseason. And, they'll go from there because I think Caleb Williams has a lot of talent. I think Cole Kmet has a lot of talent. O'Done's definitely. DJ Moore's good. Veteran Keenan Allen, Swift, you name it. Rashawn Johnson when he's not hurt. And then they have themselves a pretty decent defense. Need a few more pieces there. But we didn't play a top tier team. So yeah, it's good that we were in rhythm and doing everything correct and playing the way we know we're capable of playing. But we also have to keep it in perspective and remember we didn't play anyone. So that's one thing. But I did like what I saw. I thought Purdy had by far one of his best games of the season. I thought Isaac Guerrero showed what he is going to be, what he can be, what he should have been being, why he should have been being utilized more until this game, not waiting for injury. I think we saw how valuable and how good of a wide receiver Juwan Jennings is. He's stepping into his own as possibly one of the most valuable wide receivers the 49ers have. And once again, you saw why Kittle is the best tight end in football. That's just a couple of things you saw. On the defensive side of the ball, you got to see Leonard Floyd for what he is. Leonard Floyd came here and does what he does, man. He's a quarterback sacking machine. He had a really good game Sunday. You got to see a really good performance by Yetur Matagross, 3 sacks. Malik Collins looking like a top defensive tackle. How important it was to have Talanoa Hufnagel back. On and on I can go. How important it is to have Shavarius Ward back. I can go on and on and on. And, this is a victory that you celebrate, but you keep in perspective. And you look at this win and you say to yourself, this is what we can be. This is what we have to be from now on. Because tomorrow night we play the Rams. And as we all know right now, the Rams have had an up and down season. But when the Rams, once again, similar to us, have all their players in place, they're a pretty damn good team. They have their very dangerous trio of wide receivers, I will say, in Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and Tutu Atwell. And Kyren Williams is having himself a monster season on the ground with 12 rushing touchdowns and over 1,000 yards. Matt Stafford has 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And again, when Matt Stafford's on, he throws darts, man. You have to put pressure on him in order to change the game. Their defense is young for the most part. They don't have one stud, but they have a lot of talent on that defense that's young and upcoming. And They give up points, as we saw last week against Buffalo. But then again, you're talking about the Buffalo Bills. Hats off to them for staying in that one and knocking off Buffalo, giving them their first loss in I don't know how many games. But let's see the Rams try and do that in Buffalo. Just saying, not taking anything away from them. But yeah, tomorrow night is us and them for the second time. Anyone who is not aware or who does know, we let the Rams off the hook early on in the season in the fourth quarter, and they came back to beat us when they had no Puka Nacua and when they had no Cooper Kupp, which does not make us sound any better. Tutu Atwell absolutely killed us in that one, and so did Kyren Williams. So, look, this is what the season comes down to because of the situation we're in, because of how we played. This is what the season comes down to. You have to win tomorrow night. You have to go 7-7. You have to knock them down. You have to catch Seattle. It's not really so much about the Cardinals anymore because the Cardinals are 6-7, same as we are, and we need to knock the Rams back down so we can enjoy that tiebreaker with them. But we're also, after Seattle, who I don't think is nearly as good as their record. So it's a must-win game. And in fact, if we don't win the game tomorrow night, the season's pretty much over. Or at least the hope for the playoffs, it's pretty much over there. It's a wrap. Now, going into this game already, let's talk about some of the issues that are at hand. The injuries to Isaac Guerrero. He has a sprained foot. He did not practice today, or yesterday, I should say. He will be day to day. I had read reports that he said he would be good to go, and now I'm seeing different. I sort of wonder sometimes if management is the one that makes the call and not the player, or the player makes the call and not management. I don't know. But I have a good feeling that he will be able to go because of such an important game that it is. Although we also may not have Nick Bosa, and we may not have Trent Williams for I think the third straight game, which would be, which would once again be very unfortunate. And I think at this point we've learned to, play without them when we've had to. I mean, going off of last week's performance, you got to see the best of what we can be without them, but it would always, of course, be more beneficial to have one of the best defensive ends in football and the best tackle playing alongside of us. Going back to the running game, if Isaac Guerrero cannot go, Patrick Taylor Jr. will be the next up. And for the most part, if that's the case, look, I think Patrick Taylor Jr. is a different type of running back. I think he uses his size and his muscle a lot more than the other running backs we have. And I think that in this rushing offense, he will be able to find some suitable luck. I don't expect him to go over 200 yards. I don't expect him to go over 150 yards, but we don't need him to do that. What we do need him to do is to have a stable game on the ground, 57 to 67 to 70 yards, possibly using him out of the backfield a couple of times. Because, again, I think that when this game is just we go away from the running game, like we said, our backs are more against the wall. So we have to have that dual-edged sword to keep everything running on offense. Now, speaking on offense, it's bad enough Aaron Banks was down. We are now down Ben Barch, backup guard, rather. And like I said, Trent Williams, I don't know. I don't think Barch is going to go. Aaron Banks may be able to go, so that's some good news. It's unfortunate that at this time in the season we're still dealing with injuries, but it is what it is. So those are just some of the issues coming into the game. And, of course, Nick Bosa, like I said. The good news is Dre Greenlaw has been limited in practice, but he is practicing to some extent, and that'll be interesting if we see him. If he can't go, of course, Devondre Campbell and D. Winters. So, look, like I said, there's not much more I can say. You got to win. I can sit here till I'm blue in the face, and I can say the same boring spiel to all you guys over and over and over, but the only truth about it is that if we don't win, the season is pretty much over. That's what it comes down to. If we don't win, the season is pretty much over. So we need to win this game against the Rams. I mean, the good thing going for us is that we're at home. Again, we're not playing the Kansas City Chiefs. We're not playing the Buffalo Bills. We're not playing the Detroit Lions, although they are coming up. We're playing the Rams, who are a solid football team, very similar to us. and have just as much riding on this game as we do. So it's going to come down. I see it going one of two ways. I see us being so in sync like we were last week that we absolutely just wiped them off the field, or I see this being an absolute nail biter. I can't see them blowing us out whatsoever. I can see us blowing them out, because I think, again, I think that there's a lot more talent on this side of the ball, meaning the 49ers. And I think that for tomorrow night's game plan, depending on whether or not Garendo can go, we're going to still have to establish that running game, and we're going to have to do what we did last week. You got to get Kittle the ball. You got to get Jennings the ball. And let's talk about the 67,000-pound elephant in the room, the Deebo Samuel comments. Why I'm mentioning those now in regards to getting players the balls, I'll tell you why. All season long, I felt like I can't figure out why we're not getting Deebo the ball more. I mean, he's only got 40 receptions, which isn't terrible, but then again, you say yourself, well, he is a gadget two-way player, right? So he's dually used, or sometimes he's triple used. He can, throw the ball too, and he's a really good blocker. But recently, he had said that comment, on X, I think, talking about how I'm just not getting the ball. And of course, it didn't really cause an uproar in the media world, but you saw it everywhere, as you knew it would. It made endless amounts of pages and whatnot. And again, here's my thing about that. I don't know why any player would tweet shit like that out. Why don't you just take care of that behind closed doors? Players and teammates and coaches shouldn't have to find out about that from X. If you got a beef, if you got a problem, if you got a concern, say it. Say it to the team. Say it to the face. But I will say, I do respect that Deebo spoke his truth and answered the question. I'm not trying to cause a fight. It's the truth. I'm not getting the ball. I think there's a legitimate claim to what he's saying there. And if you haven't been watching all season long, then you wouldn't know that it's true. He's not getting the ball as much as possible. And I'm sure all you fans have questioned that at times, because I think that, once again, Deebo has a unique type of talent. And obviously getting him more involved is always very valuable. Of course, a lot of the passes we've seen have gone to Kittle and Jawan Jennings in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, with the absence of Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall, we've read reports about how he's having trouble separating from defenders. He did have a catch last week. We have to expect these type of things from rookies. So yeah, it is true. Deebo's comment is true. I just wish he wouldn't have said it through X. I wish he just would have said it in the locker room, kept it between them, and now this whole media circus bullshit, has to happen. And I don't blame the players. I blame the media for turning it into a circus, because when things are rough, a lot of outside elements just try to pile themselves on, and this is not the time for that type of stuff. But I do respect him for speaking his truth, and I do agree with him. So yeah, I'd like to see him get the ball a lot more, and not just these screen passes that we're throwing to him, because he's got the ability to stretch the field, as we've seen, and I think that's going to be a very valuable element tomorrow night. Look, we win, we're in a good place. We have to expect the fact that we win. We have to win tomorrow night. We have to beat the Cardinals. The Lions is going to be tough. I'm not going to lie. I think from this point on, at 6-7, could we beat the Lions? Yeah, anything's possible. If you can go 10-7, great. Here's the problem: Seattle needs to lose. We've got to this point because of the way we played all season long. I mean, think about it. When you think about the games that we really deserve to lose, in my mind, it's to the Vikings, it's to the Chiefs, it's to the Packers, and it's to the Bills. That's about all I can come up with. Every other game we were in. So again, in a perfect world, as I always like to talk about, what are you? If we're 6-7 right now, that's 13 games. Let's see. We should have 4 losses. Maybe we're 9-4 right now. I don't know. Maybe if we would have closed out those other games earlier on, We wouldn't have played the Packer game. You can't go by. There was no Purdy. The injuries were there. The Buffalo game was a total wash due to the weather. The Kansas City game, I still don't think we deserve to win that one. So we should have 4 losses legitimately. But truth is, we have 7. And 3 of those games we let slide out of our hands. We were winning, and they were all to division foes. So again, I don't know, man. It's so disappointing. But look, we got a shot tomorrow night to win. I can't say anything more than that. We have to win tomorrow night. That's it. That's the only way it is. You lose, over. You're not getting into playoffs with 8 losses now, because I don't think Seattle's going to lose 8 games. I can't see the Rams could possibly lose 8 games, but I can't see us getting in with 8 losses, because then you got two behind to the Rams, and it can't happen. It won't happen. So got to win tomorrow night. Got to beat the Rams. Not going to be easy, but nothing is. I'd love to see. There was a couple of people that were talking about how Shanahan called his best game of the season last week. I agree with them to an extent, but I think he's had a few games this year that he's called really good ones. And I'd like to see them replicate that. Just talking about in terms of Sunday's victory, like I said before, Purdy had his best in one of his best games, 20 of 25, 325, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, only sacked once. And on the ground, Isaac Guerrero had 78 yards on 15 carries for 2 touchdowns with the long of a 30. And Patrick Taylor Jr., 7 carries, 25 yards, and a touchdown. So if he has to be the starter, he will. Keyshawn Vaughn, who was a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, did get 2 carries for 4 yards. Brock Purdy, 5 carries for 11. Deebo, 5 for 13. Hasn't had a lot of luck running that ball. I think the defenses have really keyed on that. George Kittle continuing to have a monster season, 6 catches for 151 yards. Juwan Jennings, 7 catches, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. Isaac Guerrero and Deebo Samuel both had 2 catches apiece. Ricky Pearsall, backup tight end Eric Sabor, and Kyle Juszczyk had 1 catch apiece. And on the defensive side of the ball, Devondre Campbell led all defenders with 7 tackles. Shavarius Ward with 5. Talanoa Hufnagel with 5. Malik Mustafa with 5. Big game from Yeta Gross Matos. I said his name backwards before. 3 sacks. 2 sacks from Leonard Floyd and a sack from Malik Collins, giving us a total of 6. I'm sorry, one by Malik Collins. I couldn't see. 3, 2, giving us a total. Got a lot out of our defenders. Gross, 3 tackles for losses. Floyd, 2 tackles for losses. I'm trying to see what other interesting stats we have here. Let's see. There were no turnovers. Jake Moody was 1 for 1. So we did a really good job defending the ball. Caleb Williams was held to 134 yards. He did throw for 2 touchdowns. DeAndre Swift was held in check, 38 yards. When we hold the team under 100 yards, we win. DJ Moore, 6 for 49. Romo Dones, 4 for 42. Keenan Allen, 3 for 30. None of their wide receivers were able to really have a large amount of yards after the catch. Again, when we do that, we win. We did give up 1 sack to TJ Edwards. It was the only sack, and backup quarterback Brandon Allen did throw an interception to Jonathan Owens, which I didn't even see, to be honest with you, because the game was pretty much a wrap. I don't know why I didn't see that, though. So, as I look at the NFC West standings right now, Seattle's 8-5, the Rams are 7-6, and we're tied at 6-7 with Arizona. So, look, there's nothing else that can be said. A victory is much needed tomorrow night, and that's about, in the words of Forrest Gump, that's about all I have to say about that. Looking at team stats from last week, I mean, we beat them in every area. First downs, third down efficiency, we were 50%. Beat them in total plays, total yards, 452 to their 161. Yards per play, our 7.4 to their 3.1. Passing yards, our 321 to their 94. Rushing, our 131 to their 68. Penalties, 7 for 31 as per their 2. That's been a problem all year long with penalties, to be honest. And we outheld them with the ball 31 minutes to their 28. So a much needed, very good victory for us. And that's about it. That's about it. It's been a disappointing season for the most part. It's been depressing. It sort of reminds me of the year after 2020, after the first matchup against Kansas City because of the injuries. But we're not as bad as we were then. But we are hindered by the injuries, and look, stranger things have happened. If we can go on a roll right now, we could write our own ticket. But it starts with tomorrow night, and it starts with a victory. So let's watch and see. Ninernuts. The Ninernut is out.